Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Talk About Script podcast. This episode entitled Leading an Ant Droid to a Picnic. Today we'll be talking about X-Men, the Transformers TV show, and the Batman animated series. I am Gareth Chappell, and with me, as always, is former lead singer of Testosterone, Charlie Carthy.
Hello, hello.
But before we dive straight in, I just want to give a few shout-outs because I've been looking through the stats, Charlie, such as they are. And I just want to give a shout-out to whoever it is, our only listener in Scotland, who has listened to all 3 podcasts in Glasgow. So if that's you, come and say hello on Instagram or Twitter. And thank you for following us. And I also want to give a shout-out to our friends over at the Lunch Hour Geek podcast, whose podcasts are fairly similar to ours, but much, much longer. They did an awesome one on found footage horror, which made me go and watch Wreck, and now I can't sleep. So thanks, guys. But yeah, check them out as well. We will get into our first main topic, which is going to be X-Men 97. So Charlie, how did you find the revival of the beloved X-Men cartoon?
I know everyone will be saying this as soon as they started watching, but I was transported right back to childhood as soon as that opening song played. Absolutely loved it. Then the updated theme song, love seeing the animation. I was blown away by what stories that they covered. And without getting into spoilers yet, when that moment happens halfway through, I needed a minute. Yeah, I was stunned and shocked just as much as the characters were.
I mean, first of all, I think the update of the theme tune is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the fact the marketing campaign was basically like, what's the skip button? Why would you skip?
I love that. This is an ongoing thing now with streaming shows challenging viewers to dare to skip the intro.
Don't skip the intro.
Because we had it with Peacemaker, we had it with Cowboy Bebop, even bringing back the animated Bebop, and adding Batman the animated series as well. That's another one where I can't skip the intro.
No, the intros really set the scene on some of these shows for what's to follow. They really set the atmosphere. X-Men's is awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it's always awesome, but I think it's even better.
And I like that they started using little clips in them to tease, like, not what's just happening in the episode, but happening in the season. What are we? Who are we? Who should we be paying attention to?
Also, there's stuff in there that's not in the season, which makes I don't know if it's from season 2 or if it's stuff from the previous X-Men show that I've just forgotten about. But there's a lot of Cable,
fighting,
a lot of Cable Apocalypse stuff in there.
Yeah, pretty sure that's when he defeats Apocalypse with philosophy.
Oh yes, I went back and watched that. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the original show in a minute, but I think if we dive into kind of the new one. First of all, isn't it nice to have a Marvel property which is actually successful pretty much all the way through?
Yeah.
Currently.
It's almost as if it's been, well written and they followed a script all the way through.
I mean, they've got good stories to draw on, which I think helps, but it could have still gone horribly wrong.
It could have been. One thing that I did enjoy about this series, and especially with some of the comic stories that they followed, was the breakneck pace that they went through them. It's like they just picked out all the best bits and it's like, right, we're just gonna do that. We're not gonna add fluff and filler.
It's a real X-Men highlight reel. I mean, X-Men is one of the only comics that I kind of read or read due to my obsession with Apocalypse. But they rattle through some of them. They're not even double episodes, some of them. They're just like, oh yeah, here's a whole comic. And I mean, the episodes are longer though.
They are.
So, but still.
But they never feel overly long.
No. And
we don't feel like, at no point did I feel like I was waiting for something to happen, which can happen, which often does, it is how some TV series are written, not just Marvel ones, the DC ones have had it. And just TV in general, but this time they've been really efficient with it and really well paced with storytelling.
And I'm going to be potentially controversial here, although it seems a fair few people agree with me. I think 97 is better than the original run.
Yeah, I agree.
It's certainly better for adults. I don't know if I was a kid if I'd feel the same way because kids will watch anything. it's definitely it's paced a hell of a lot better considering some of the original X-Men shows episodes were like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. These are like 40 minutes, and they seem faster.
Yeah.
I mean, that's class. You know, you can tell there's a pacing lag in some of the older ones.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting you bring up how kids would feel about watching this, but as
I wouldn't let my kids watch it.
Yeah, because some of the content it still sticks to the real issues and confronts them head on, just like the original series did. The visuals are like mind-blowingly, like shocking and horrific at times.
They're grim, aren't they? I mean, it's not a kid's cartoon. I don't think anymore.
And it's one of those shows, and the X-Men being some of those characters that this can only get properly told in an animated format. When you have demonic dream sequences and giant robots and lasers and time travel. I mean, live action can do it pretty well, but not nearly with as much like imagination that they've let the animators
it
use.
just hasn't so far.
Yeah.
So I want to bring out the fact. So what works really well with this show is the writing. I mean, I'd say the acting is incredible, but that's more of a performance thing. Some of the Magneto in particular, holds this thing together. I think
that
remarkably,
that monologue that he does in the Trial of Magneto is incredible. It's really powerful acting, and the kind of as one of those examples where the original voice actor, obviously couldn't make it to revive this character like some of the others could. But you forget about the replacements. You forget that they're new. It feels like Magneto.
Apart from Rogue. But, maybe that's just me. How do you feel about Rogue's new voice?
I liked it. I could definitely hear that she was older, but it didn't take me away from the character at all.
Yeah.
And I still loved her. I still loved the southern twangs. It's all the mentions of the Raging Cajun, who again another brilliant voice actor brought in to as the new one to play Gambit.
Gambit was good. I don't know what it is about Rogue. I think it's because it's a different pitch.
Yeah,
I think its voice is higher than the original Rogue.
Yeah, because I noticed it with her and with Wolverine, who's got the same original actor. It had all the little. It had the significant voice notes that like I remember from childhood.
Yeah,
but you could it's been how long now? 25, nearly 30 years.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to pull off as well. I mean, you've got effectively what is quite a niche show, because you could argue kids are going to be like, what is this? And unless you're an adult who specifically watched it before, who is actually, because people are moaning about the numbers for the show, it's like, well, who's actually going to come and watch it? I think it will grow as word of mouth spreads that this is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah,
especially as we're moving into other seasons. So as Disney are happy with it, they've already greenlit it up to season 3. So they're obviously fairly happy with how it's doing.
Yeah, and while it is nostalgic for, I consider myself to be in a prime audience group for it, literally growing up with watching it as a kid and now seeing it again and seeing it continued, just picked up and continued so well, but without constantly referring back to, hey, remember the original series, remember the good old days, remember how good that was.
They don't refer at all, do they?
No,
they just go, on we go.
Yeah, they continue it. Going back to the intro bit, it's why I like the addition of Morph to it and Morph's sequence and still showing Mr. Sinister.
I mean, Morph's a great character because they literally just use him to cameo everybody else.
Anyone they possibly can. Who haven't we shown yet?
Yeah.
Okay, let's throw them in.
Which is quite cool. Now they've got access to the whole MCU. Anyway, we were going back to what really makes it work is the writing. And bar 1 or 2 episodes which are kind of self-contained, there's quite a fun little episode with Jubilee where she's stuck in a video game.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, that's really nice. And what to me was the only down part of the series, which was the 2-episode Storm thing about where Storm lost their powers and then kind of I was so bored by that. And also the where they placed it in the season was really odd, because you were waiting for like the follow-up to what happened in the previous episode, and they were like, oh, here's Storm moaning about not having her powers, and you're like, oh, I don't really care. I've seen this before in the previous season, like in the previous series. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, Storm as a character herself is great. But
Yeah.
Forge as a character, I've never really got on with anyway. But it's just a bit of a weird. I don't know. That one really dragged me. But anyway, generally, they do this thing, which is a known thing, is if you're gonna talk about something big, i.e., a global apocalypse or a genocide or whatever, you keep the details small. So, for instance, if you blow up something, you don't show loads and loads of bodies scattered around. You show like the burnt teddy bear of a child or something.
Yeah.
And they do this consistently throughout, where they keep things small. They don't talk about how it's affecting the entire world. They talk about how it's affecting, like, Magneto monologues at one point about the kid he remembers that he promised was going to be okay. And it like always comes down to this personal interest, and you get it with Rogue as well. It's like Cyclops, everything comes back to the family. It doesn't matter the world's falling apart. He's concerned about his child, or his wife, or whatever it may be. So it the reason you do that is because it makes it relatable for the people watching. People may not, hopefully, haven't experienced high level horrific acts. So you give them something to try to trigger some kind of emotional memory that is closer to their realm of being able to relate to.
And being able to, I guess, show what these characters, but but also the people who emotionally connect with these characters would be feeling, rather than telling us this is horrific. We are seeing the characters feel it and seeing them struggle with it. And like you said, it could be for a global apocalypse. It could be for horrific acts of violence. And one of the other big issues, which X-Men has always been covering, it's always been about, is civil rights and persecution, and that ongoing. I'm still not sick of the struggle between Xavier and Magneto being, do we fight back, or do we live amongst and rise above the world that hates and fears us? But it was great to see Magneto genuinely give it a go and struggle with it.
It's nice when they're having their kind of back and forth again. I mean, there are a few. I mean, it adheres very strictly to the comics in some sense, and there's the whole thing of like Charles Xavier in space. It doesn't actually lead anywhere.
Yeah.
it's just like, well, this happened and this is background detail. We're not going to explain like what all these aliens or whatever are, because you know that already, right? But eventually he'll make his way back to Earth. Don't worry about it. There's just a few little details about that they'll be good for the kind of the super X-Men geeks among us.
Yeah.
But it does sometimes you're just like, oh, please get on with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often. Most of the time they're really on it.
No, but it was nice to see. I enjoyed seeing them again, and I enjoyed seeing for the little cameos. Seeing I've always liked Gladiator.
Yeah.
I like seeing Ronan the Accuser. I don't know many of the others from apart from odd issues of X-Men and Avengers and various space books. But it was nice to just see them there. I do hope that they come back and actually deal with how their society works and what it was like for Charles, living amongst them as another outsider and trying to educate them. That's why I liked the classroom psychic sequence.
Yeah, there's a lot of individually very strong scenes in there. Most of them surrounding Magneto.
Yeah.
Gambit has his moment. They don't shy away from kind of racking up the cast, do that, and shaking the cast up as well. I mean, there's some it really hits hard. Like I say, it's definitely not a kid show. There are a lot of deaths in here of characters who've survived the first 4 seasons. Not like some main characters, some supporting characters.
Yeah,
I mean, the Morlocks take an absolute battering. Don't they? I mean,
they can never catch a break.
No. And I mean, that 3-episode finale arc it doesn't miss. All 3 of those episodes are absolutely perfect. I think start to finish.
And talking about shaking up the cast and being able to trade out characters, it was really nice to see Cable stick around.
Yes.
Not just have him pop in for a quick battle.
Yeah.
Or act on his own. Actually seeing him be part of the team. Which the character even addresses that he's not used to.
There's a few missing as well. Like we don't. I remember Colossus being quite a big part of the original show.
I think, we remember it, but he actually wasn't.
Maybe he was only in it for a few. I watched one episode the other day where he's literally like, tanks come and take over his village, and it just feels like 20 minutes of him shouting "Ilyana, Ilyana!" Oh my god!
I remember
God.
that episode. Ilyana.
It's like, oh my word! Some of those episodes, when you look at, obviously they had to make loads and loads and loads of those episodes. Some of them are not great.
No. That one is annoying.
Very annoying.
But also it has Omega Red, who is a good villain.
I'm only interested in Liana if she's got a pet dragon.
Yeah.
Before that happens, I'm not interested.
It tried to make her important before she was actually
But we needed her.
Cool.
Where's your dragon?
Yeah.
That's all we care about.
I think as well, because one technically an animation that I watched after this was the Astonishing X-Men motion comic.
Oh my word.
Which very well animated, and that's got a lot of Colossus in.
Yeah.
And showing him teaming up with the Fantastic Four to fight a giant, ride a giant monster's nostrils.
I'm surprised though, obviously with Deadpool coming out, you'd think Colossus would be the obvious linkage between the two. Great to get like Beast's old voice back as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Kelsey Grammer being Beast, but there's just the fear that you like they've gone through all of this stuff, and then you just get Beast go, "Oh dear," in the background.
Oh my stars and garters.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my.
And doing his author and writer and poet quotes.
Yeah.
They only did that for the original series. Like every other animation with X-Men, they didn't. Beast was smart and eloquent and gentle, but not but he wasn't quoting enough.
No. I think it's worth noting as well. People are like, oh, well, have they brought back X-Men '97, which is a fair viewpoint. If you didn't live through like the original series or weren't around during the original series, I think people don't realise how big an impact that simple cartoon actually had on popular culture,
and the fact that it inspired other studios to try and make their own rival productions.
I mean, it arguably saved Marvel, who was struggling in the comic book thing, and X-Men was one of their properties that people kind of vaguely recognised. But
so it was before the films. It was before
way before the films,
before Blade even as well.
It was the first big apart from Spider-Man. It was the first big popular culture Marvel thing. I mean, all kids were talking about X-Men, and to the point you can tell when something's hit the kind of zeitgeist of a certain age group, because it's when the video games start coming out. It doesn't happen as much now, but because video games cost like $80 billion to make, and then they make no money back. But at the time it was the big scramble. There were 2 X-Men games on the Mega Drive. There was Spider-Man, the X-Men on Super Nintendo, and then later there was X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, which was the one which really nailed the like cartoon vibe. And I remember people were like, "I've got to get a Super." It was in the age of the normal Nintendo, the NES. Aging myself as always. And people are like, "Oh my god, I've got to get a Super Nintendo because there's an X-Men game coming out on the Super Nintendo," and like, I just got to get it because there's an X-Men game. And it's like people buying and pestering parents to buy super expensive consoles just to play X-Men games. So I think it really is. You don't really get stuff hit the culture that much. I mean, you're up there, kids stuff. I suppose you're looking at stuff like Paw Patrol and those things, and things which really kind of seep through long term. But it was a huge deal. There hadn't really been anything other than the Spider-Man cartoon. I don't know exactly when the Batman cartoon was, but I fear if it wasn't
that was around the same time,
sort of time. But I don't know, with X-Men, with the intro and all the cool characters, it was just awesome.
And also when something is remembered that fondly, the fact that we are now hearing that theme music in other Marvel properties, but establishing that theme music, that intro one for the original animated series, that's the theme.
Can you remember, Charlie, the first time that Marvel snuck in the X-Men theme tune into the MCU? Can Charlie remember? What do you reckon, ladies and gentlemen at home? Can you remember?
I want to say Multiverse of Madness.
He's wrong.
Was that before Miss Marvel?
It was Miss Marvel was the first time they played the actual music.
Was that that before Doctor Strange?
I don't know, but it's the first time they played though. When she's talking about I've got a mutated gene or whatever. You get the little music, little music just play over it, and it's like first of all, there's me sitting there going, "Hang on a minute, that's not right," because she's an Inhuman.
Yeah.
But anyway, we all know the Inhumans were just developed because Marvel couldn't get the rights back.
Yeah. Everyone loves mutants more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was nice to hear it with Professor X in his yellow hover chair in his green suit and tie as Patrick Stewart with that theme song as well. It struck a chord with me because I grew up with that show, hit me right in all the nostalgia feels. But also, if it's establishing, this is the theme song of the X-Men. When you hear that, and it was the same when they did the crossover episode with Spider-Man in his animated show. When the X-Men theme kicks in, the X-Men take the lead, the action begins.
It's all good. I think as well, a few things I'm surprised by that we didn't get. We had, by the way, there's loads of cameos in this. If you haven't seen it, Marvel are really playing on the hey, there was even Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
I was surprised to see them.
Daredevil, Cloak and Dagger, very, very briefly, Spider-Man, all sorts. I mean, I expect Spider-Man because it's, they're closely linked anyway. But there's tons and tons and tons. The one I was surprised we didn't get, judging by all the rumours and circulating, no Dazzler. Very surprised. Maybe we're all being led down the garden path by this, but there's lots of rumours. I mean, the actual director or one of the writers posted something very cryptic about a Dazzler series or Dazzler comic or something.
Maybe it's a question of who is not cameoing in a certain other mutant-centric film.
When they were putting out the Dazzler whatever they were talking about, they were using kind of song lyrics from certain artists. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. You know what these MCU rumor mills are like.
Yeah,
I mean, they're nonsense most of the time. Yeah, but if you haven't checked out X-Men '97, it's well worth it. It's really good. Actually, it's really well written. It will help you as a scriptwriter. It will help you to understand character, how to deal with big issues, how to make things relate. I mean, it's masterwork. I think it's done really well. I'm not surprised it's been recommissioned. Marvel Animation's actually been on a bit of a roll, low key wise. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of What If, but there's been some little sneaky, like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaurs. If you're younger, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's full of these things are full of personality and actual art direction. In the art styles as well. You're talking about how good the script is, but the art direction in it and the visualization of these scripts. I mean, we won't
masterful. Deviate too much off into Mean Girl, but I do like the fact that the greatest supervillain is just a guy who owns a car.
Yeah,
because they can't catch him because she's just a little girl standing there and going, "Why? How can you be a supervillain if your superpower is just having a driving license?" Just like crazy. Anyway, giant red dinosaurs aside, I mean, maybe that's one to watch in short doses if you're not a child. I mean, it's literally cartoon ADHD.
Yeah, maybe just in between episodes of X-Men.
Yeah, it's a light and it is hilarious, and the theme tune's really good for that as well. So, any final thoughts on X-Men before we move on, Charlie?
Just strong recommendation. Watch it, support it, watch it again.
Okay. Next, we are going to move on to the coolest thing in the world that Charlie and I did the other day, which is we went to the cinema, boys and girls, because it was the 40th anniversary of the Transformers TV show. So we went to the cinema not to watch Transformers the animated movie. Oh no, we will come on to that another time. Not to watch one of the Transformers movies. No, to watch 4 episodes of the original 1980s Transformer TV show back to back. Badly cropped, some might add it.
With a handy table read.
Yeah, with
the very first episode.
So the first episode had a table read of returning voices and voices from one of the other Transformers shows. I'm not sure exactly which one it was. one of the other animated shows. So you had a mixture of old and new voices. So while we were watching the action on screen, you had a split screen, and you had the voice actors doing the table read and kind of making faces at each other. It was actually kind of cool.
That was my favorite part of the show. Watching the voice actor for Starscream with his curly mustache and his big beard and his glasses upon glasses, acting out the faces along with the voices. I was paying more attention to that than I was the actual show.
Yeah, it was great fun, actually. Yeah, the guy doing Starscream was awesome. The only problem was, I think there was one guy, he was doing like Megatron, Soundwave, Shockwave, and
that was Frank. Yeah, Frank Welker does.
Yeah, so quite a lot of the time, these characters talk to each other. So it was like he was saying a line, having to pause the breath, say the next line. It's just him constantly through certain sequences. It was kind of cool. I'm so tempted to use my large robot button to do Soundwave impressions.
God, give it. Which was your favorite robot within a robot? That
the robots within well, it's always Soundwave. So because Soundwave can obviously.
So Soundwave can go Laserbeak, eject, rumble, eject, Operation Disruption.
Almost. Never to be used again, boys and girls. Yeah, it was great. I must admit, I as much as I enjoyed the table read, when we got back to the voices that I kind of fully recognised, I was kind of into it again. And it was an interesting... What they did, basically, they showed the first 3 parts of the first season, which is the Autobots escaping Cybertron and coming to Earth, and Megatron's obsession with Energon. And then just the random 4th episode afterwards, which is actually the weakest of the 4 we saw, I think. I can't even remember what it was.
Yeah, because there was a very clear 3-part...
Yeah.
3-part... would you call it the pilot? But
no, it was 3 parts. Part 1, 2 and 3.
But 3-part intro to the world of Transformers. I had never seen the actual animated show. I'd seen a movie, loved the movie, but never watched the original series. I just come into these knowing, just knowing Transformers from pop culture.
Yeah.
And then to see the actual setup of how they get started, how they get into their ongoing battle on Earth and ongoing battle for Energon. It was good. It was cool. It raised a lot of questions for me. Particularly about...
Like, what am I doing with my life? Things like that.
Well, I mean, I was questioning, am I, I thought, this is geek kind of cool. This is like hardcore fandom. I was having no regrets about it going in. And then while I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, is this what it was like?
There were a lot of people in that cinema.
Yeah, there were.
For a random, a random Tuesday in Staines.
Yeah. Just on a Tuesday, come to the cinema, not to watch a film, but to watch a 40-year-old TV show.
It's a big ask for a Tuesday, I felt.
Yeah.
But yeah, they pulled that off.
Oh, but I mean, that's one of the things I was proud of, is that we get to support
it's nice
adventures like that.
I mean, I would love to have watched the movie, maybe another time. But, I did... I did really like it. I have to say that 4th episode was weak, though. I'm just trying to remember. I can't even remember what it was called.
But that was the first one they tried to build the gate back to Cybertron.
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
it?
And there's some weird stuff. I mean, there are better episodes in it. So the first season is 13 episodes, and it ends with a 3-part finale called Ultimate Doom, which is it's worthwhile. But I would agree with Charlie. I mean, over the seasons as a whole, I think everyone pretty much agrees that once you get past the movie, there's a few, like there's the good Headmaster's arc and things like that. But after you get to the points like later seasons, it really is on borrowed time. You can tell it's coming to an end. But there's some really good episodes in the first few seasons that are worth revisiting, like with the ones with the Constructicons when they first built Devastator, or the ones where they keep sneaking past Shockwave to go back to Cybertron are pretty cool. There's one where Optimus Prime actually goes back in time to the origins of Cybertron. You get to see it in its like golden era.
Yeah.
That's all pretty cool. But I would say for people, it's quite hard to find actually for a start on streaming services. I don't know if Paramount are going to take up the rights because I think this was also in conjunction with Earthshock series, which looks dreadful.
Yeah, they had a promo trailer for whatever this new animated show is.
PS2 level animation at its finest.
Definitely kids' TV kind of writing for it. But yeah, you could definitely see, that's why they're doing this celebration and doing this cinema, these theatrical re-showings. But I did enjoy actually getting to see a reason why the Autobots and the Decepticons are fighting each other for reasons other than these are the good guys, these are the bad guys.
It's pretty laid out actually for a kids show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about Energon. But one of the questions it raised for me, especially towards the end, was what is the difference between them other than these are clearly the good guys and clearly the bad guys? Because they both just want Energon. They've used it all up. They're running at so it's another big issue with an energy crisis going on Cybertron. So they go to Earth to try and get some more. They get stuck for 4 million years.
Oh yeah, which is never referred to again.
Yeah, they crash. They're stuck for 4 million years, and we see the mountain and the environment grow around them. And then they wake up, get revived as jets and trucks and all the vehicles that they are known to be.
Um,
I think you're forgetting the part of Teletran Run.
And going out and saying, repair, repair.
Constantly for about 5 minutes.
Just looking around. Hey, what's this thing? Oh, it's a fighter jet. Repair, repair. You're all fighter jets now. Oh, here's a truck. You're going to be a truck now.
Oh, it's
Optimus.
the bit on the bit. Was it about episode 2 where the Autobots suddenly just can't fly anymore?
Yeah,
they can fly, and then suddenly they're like, one of Ironhide makes a comment about, "Oh, we'll never catch them in the air; they're too fast." And then from that point on, they never fly again. So weird.
But in the end, Megatron leads his Decepticons to build a rocket. They need lots of Energon to build a rocket, but also presumably to send more Energon cubes back. And when the Autobots defeat them towards the end, it's like, now we can claim our Energon.
Yeah, but they asked nicely. It's the only time all the leaders in the world agreed they were going to help them. It's that bit as well where they contact, it's been 4 million years.
Yeah,
and they just randomly contact Cybertron, and Shockwave goes,
yeah,
"Oh my God, I can't believe it."
Yeah, it's just the first view back on Cybertron. You've got Shockwave running around in a mad panic, and he's just like, yeah, I mean, before they left, they were like, "Oh, we're running out of Energon."
Yeah.
4 million years later, oh, we better do something about this. We're starting to run out of Energon.
We're almost out now, Megatron. We really mean it this time.
Yeah. Have they just been kept fighting and using it all over 4 million years?
I think the vague idea is
everyone just have
all the Autobots leave. So
is that
all of the
them?
Autobots leave because the Decepticons have taken over Cybertron.
Oh.
So therefore, I guess there's no one to fight, I guess. They just take over the planet.
So it leaves the Decepticons just to sit and have a breather for 4 million years.
Because a lot of the episodes, until you get to the movie, are about the Autobots basically running kind of resistance strikes back to Cybertron.
Okay.
Because there's no Autobots on Cybertron anymore. I mean, even in the movie, I think the Decepticons have taken over Cybertron.
Yeah.
It's a running theme. Certainly happens in the Headmaster's arc as well, where they just can't keep hold of their homeland. It's kind of like their vibe. But yeah, I think I enjoyed it more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be tempted to go back through and find some more of the episodes. There's some good ones.
I will definitely, at your recommendation, you've got the list of episodes that I should watch. I will definitely watch. Try some more.
You don't need to watch all of them.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking at, speaking of other 80s cartoons, this might be something we come on to a bit later. We've talked about Ulysses 31.
Yeah.
I think you'll definitely be into that, but that's only like 20-something episodes. But I was also looking at Mask. And I was looking at this hilarious Mask. Season 1 of Mask, 68 episodes.
68.
Yeah. I think it's 68, 65. Season 2 of Mask is like 10. And that's it. There's 2 seasons. So it's like, yeah, you don't need to binge watch all the way through these, but there are some really cool highlights in there. And I think there are some really good Transformers episodes. There's ones where the Dinobots first get built, and then Grimlock thinks he's too strong, so he challenges Prime for leadership. So that's quite cool.
Cool.
And there's a few others with him, but yeah, some of the ones where a couple of robots, like the Shockwave's rubbish, by the way. They always sneak into the space bridge past Devastator, like he's a lot of use, and then sneak past Shockwave at the other end every time, and then they manage to get back again.
So comparing to the likes of X-Men, where characters really were in danger and characters could die. They had the episode where, the bombs are going off. Optimus Prime is still up there. What's he gonna do? As the explosion knocks him off the cliff.
Just get up.
Yeah, he just gets up, dusts himself off.
Yeah, the only time anyone dies in Transformers is the movie.
Yeah,
and I was pointing, and this will ruin all your childhood memories. They go and kill off all the robots that the toys weren't very good at. They kill off all the robots where the toys don't transform properly. But again, that's definitely a podcast for another day.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the advertising for the toys just all over these episodes.
We can't make these anymore. They don't transform properly.
But it's also like you can't just get Optimus Prime. You have to get Roller with it as well.
Roller comes with him though. You don't have to buy him separately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did all of Soundwave's
No.
ones cut? So they were the extra toys you had to buy with
Soundwave,
him.
and also I don't know if this just because I was born a little bit late or I was a bit young for it, but I remember always wanting a Soundwave toy but never being able to find one.
Yeah.
Because I think by the time I started getting to the age where I was buying Transformers toys, I think we were almost at the movie.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of those first gen Transformers, Soundwave, yeah, you could buy all the tapes separately for Soundwave. But yeah, I remember, like Wheeljack didn't transform properly, Ratchet didn't transform properly, Ironhide didn't transform. So all the main characters, apart like Bumblebee was all right, and the little ones, people like what's he called? I can't remember. He's called like Huffer and all those little dudes like that. And people like Blue Streak was all right, and Jazz was all right, although you couldn't get a Jazz. Oh my god, Christmas, trying to get Jazz for Christmas. No chance.
Was there an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie about that?
It was basically like it was one of those toys, and then I got Jazz, and he was so difficult to transform, he broke in half.
Oh my god!
I was like, oh, what a waste.
You know what? I'm just impressed how well you could keep track of all the different Transformers.
Oh yeah. Well, they all get their own episodes eventually.
Yeah. It was a lot for me to struggle with, and then when they kept producing new robots within them, I tried to keep a list. So we had Laserbeak, Ravage.
Yep.
His name's not Thumper, but he was the Thumper. Rumble.
Sorry, hang on. We can't say it like that. We have to.
Rumble.
There you go.
Yeah, but here's the guy that stomped around in the water.
Oh yeah, he's the grumpy little one.
Yeah, I didn't get their names, but I just called them the camera triplets because there was 3 little ones and they all folded up into a camera together as a spy device.
That was a bit weird, isn't it? 3 fully grown Decepticons turned into a little camera.
And yeah, they're normally either from or working with Soundwave, and then Optimus Prime.
Roller.
Yeah, just has his roller. And how often does Roller come out?
I'm not sure we ever see Roller again. I'm probably wrong about that, but
hey kids, buy this one.
But there's also like how you tell me about with Megatron, and his actual trailer folds down, and there's like a gun thing which comes out, and you literally see it just in the back of one shot, and then Megatron blows it up. And I don't think you ever see that again as well. But it's a cool tour though, because you got him, you got Roller, you got the gun, you got the thing which folded down. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so we had that. Did Jazz? I mean, did you ever get a Jazz?
I didn't get an unbroken Jazz.
No. Did Jazz come with his handy fishing line that he uses to rescue somebody in every time in those first 3 episodes?
No, they accessories wise they were pretty poor. So you only used to get with their like little gun. You didn't used to get anything else with them.
Okay, but it was so vital in the show.
And then you never see it again.
Yeah.
Jazz has all sorts of things. He's got like there's one episode where I think he blinds people with dance music.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So is this close to Zach from Power Rangers to using dance fighting?
It's the same sort of vibe. Yeah, he just basically had two big speakers come out of him in the car form, and like the music is so loud, it's almost like a laser blast. It disrupts the Decepticons' transceivers. I
Oh
believe.
my god!
What I should say is the dialogue in this actually has a bit of nuance to it. Some of the one-liners are genius.
Yeah.
So like the name of this podcast is a Megatron quote where he says to Soundwave, you couldn't leave an ant droid to a picnic.
Yeah. I love them. I stick it in neutral, Megatron.
Yeah.
Oh my god, hearing what's the actor's name? Peter
Cullen, is it?
Yeah, Peter Cullen. Yeah, hearing him say, stick it in neutral, Megatron.
Brilliant.
You know, somebody, I forget which one, but was going, hydraulic, buddy.
Oh yeah, when they just use random technical terms as like thumbs up things.
Yeah, you almost flooded your engine. And then, again, was it Ironhide or one of the tougher, better Autobots going, well, I'm sick of sucking their vapor trail.
Oh, that's Ironhide. Yeah. What I would say as well, the Decepticons don't have a lot of characters in them. You have Soundwave, Megatron, and Starscream, and then you just have the Jets that all kind of walk around grumbling, and Skywarp can teleport, and that's like his personality. Until you get to like the Constructicons and some of the more kind of nuance. But most of the Autobots, and there's a lot of them.
There's
a lot of them.
There's a lot on screen at the same time doing their actions and, transforming. That's a lot to animate for on a,
Yeah, there's
the
loads
1980s.
and also they're pretty distinctive. Like in terms of personality, they're not generic. The Decepticons suffer from this. They are quite generic. It also makes me wonder why the Autobots can't just roll over the Decepticons. There seems to be about 1 million Autobots and about 10 Decepticons. And it just seems to be, oh no, they can fly. It's like we could until the end of episode 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite impressive, I think, in a lot of ways in its focus. Actually, the fact the Energon, we're going through all the different energy sources on Earth, and there's kind of there is genuine peril, and the villains are good, and I think it's more than just a toy commercial. I can certainly think of far worse, cartoons that haven't lasted.
And it's another animated show where they keep they repeatedly use their music and their theme song through different instruments to get you to remember them.
Yeah.
Which was good. I liked it.
Transformers, robots in disguise.
Every time they had.
I have to say as well, the version we saw was not great. Like in the cinema,
the pacing is what's thrown me off because it felt like they were 10-minute episodes, 10-minute two-parters.
Yeah, and they kept
tell an episode.
And for some reason, I don't know why they did this. They had it with like the ad break like splits in.
Yeah.
Now I've only ever they never had these ad breaks when I watched them on kids' TV because I think they were shown in like 5-minute sections on like Saturday morning TV shows. But also when you watch them on the DVD and they just flow quite normally. And then there's so many ad breaks. There must be the American versions of it, and I was just like, oh, it's really disruptive.
That definitely feels like. I mean, not having. I'm turning to you, Gareth. I'm asking you because you're the one who actually watched them. Yeah, this one, did it have as many ad breaks or just as many stops?
I don't remember.
It was every 5. It was every.
No,
it was every 10 minutes.
It definitely didn't. I mean, I think, like I said, I think they were on like Timmy Mallett's Wide Awake Club on a Saturday morning, and they may have had one break in it. But then I think they were shorter episodes. I remember at one point Transformers the movie being shown in literally 5-minute sections.
Oh my god, that's
over
painful.
a number of weeks.
That's
you
just
can imagine that as a kid.
That's just a music video.
Yeah,
and
literally.
then you watch a clip. I mean, it's almost like, like who could possibly watch it in these small blocks?
Because also you missed one and you had no idea what was going
on.
But
you know what I did enjoy at the ending, and typical 1980s animated kids TV show fashion was the PSA that they have at the
Oh,
end.
yes. Knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, you can't run away from your problems.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I could be wrong, but I'm not sure they had those in the UK. They definitely had them on stuff like He-Man and Mask and things like that, but I don't remember. I'm probably wrong. I don't remember Transformers episodes ever having them, but then that may be because I never got to the end of an episode on normal TV.
Yeah.
I think they had them on the VHS tapes that I used to get, and that's how I used to watch them normally, was on the VHS tapes with a really cool box art. Oh my god! By the way, if anyone's into like art and stuff, in terms of like retro art and stuff, the box art on some of the like original Transformers VHS is awesome. Really, really worth looking at. Yeah, it's definite thought been put into some of that stuff.
But yeah, for a returning viewer going back to it, did you have as much fun watching it again?
I did the first 3.
Yeah.
That 4th episode is just bad. I really enjoyed, because obviously the first one is when they're still on Cybertron and they haven't even transformed, and I was kind of cool. The episodes when they go back to Cybertron are always the best. But no, that 4th episode was not good. And I must admit, I would have presented it differently. I could have done without the weird cropping on the screen with the stuff around it, and
I mean, we've watched things in 4:3 on a.
Yeah, it's the fact it didn't have a top.
Yeah.
It was only 4, but it's like the bottom of the screen. It didn't have a bar on the top.
Yeah,
It was really weird.
we've watched an older aspect ratio in a cinema screen just fine.
Yeah.
With other
Yeah.
movies.
It was just weirdly done.
Maybe it was just to, I don't know, maybe just to celebrate.
Yeah,
the old
and
series.
also I could have really done without the ad breaks. That was not good. That really took me
Because
out.
they
of
had
it.
that, they had those. Was it just the general Transformers logo, or was it Autobots
see,
that
now
flips
that-
and turns to Decepticons?
that is something
as
which-
those breaks.
That is something which happens throughout when they're that's as a transition, so you know
Yeah.
where you're going through it. But that I don't mind because it's got the da 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 noise on it. But just the full-on little Autobot transformation or Decepticon transformation heading into the ad break, I could have done without that. I
Yeah.
could have just watched the episode. I'm. That makes me wonder if it's going to Paramount, because they do that. They don't set their shows up properly. So, for instance, if you go and watch something like Frasier, which is the highest rated sitcom ever, it's edited for the TV version, so it loses, like, the jokes are cut weirdly and it doesn't flow properly. It's like, just put the proper version on without the breaks in. You're on a streaming service, for crying out loud. Anyway, it's a little pet hate of mine. Right, I think we've had enough about Transformers. I can't imagine we're not going to come back to the movie at some point. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about is the original Batman animated series, which we were saying came out around the same time as the original run of the X-Men show. We've got a run of awesome theme tunes going on here, with the da-da-da-da-da-da again.
I'm not gonna recreate the whole thing again.
Anyway, it's as I say, heavily influenced by, at the time, the Keaton-Burton Batman, with the Batmobile, general design, music, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if Danny Elfman did the music. I doubt it, but it's certainly got a vibe.
And definitely used to accompany the early 90s films, but also I like the animated ones more.
Yeah, they're really solid. I have to say again, just before we get kind of into the individual episodes, again, people underestimate animation's ability to impact on popular culture. Much like with X-Men, Batman also was a massively popular franchise. I do feel like it came out later than X-Men because I know this based on the following thing. Batman the Animated Series video game on the Super Nintendo came out late in the Super Nintendo's life. And I was thinking, from my own personal point of view, I was pestering parents to get me a Super Nintendo for the X-Men game because I had a NES. So logic implies.
Did you limit it to your own parents to pester?
Anyone who would listen, really. I had a plan. So Mega Drive and Super Nintendo had separate Batman the Animated Series video games, both of which are awesome, by the way. Really, really cool. And this was in addition to the Batman the Movie games. So Batman the Movie came out on the Mega Drive, not the Super Nintendo, but we did have Batman Returns on the Super Nintendo. So a lot of Batman goodness for you retro game hunters out there. And obviously there was loads of stuff on the games, consoles and computers before that. Amstrad, Amiga, etc. had Batman Cape Crusader with the powers and buffs and all of that. So what would you say are some of your favourite episodes of this, Charlie?
Oh, it's hard to which one it is. It's which one isn't my favorite. But I there were loads that I've enjoyed. I enjoyed the Riddler's origin episode. I've enjoyed Heart of Ice.
Yeah, cool.
That one was the one that transformed Mr. Freeze from goofy villain, and I remember watching him in the Adam West series, where it was just a dry ice spray, a dry ice gun. It just sprayed the smoke. But Heart of Ice was really good. Was really like beautifully written, beautifully animated, and also I just liked the odd Joker stories peppered in there. Felt he wasn't overused, but also he did just have playful schemes. My favorite one was the laughing fish.
Oh, yeah, the laughing fish.
Where the Joker tries to trademark fish that have had the Joker toxin somehow, I think, from the water. And they've all got the iconic Joker smile. And he's trying to register it with a trademark office, trying to use the legal procedure to try and make more money. Absolutely love it. As well as the adverts that he does, the many times that Joker hijacks the TV and Harley Quinn singing a jingle. They're finny and funny and oh so delish.
I do like the fact that like episode 1 is Man Bat.
Yeah,
like they start it really. I mean, also like you're talking about the Riddler before. The Riddler's origin is really late in the run. I was looking. I was looking. This is on Netflix, or you can get all the episode on Netflix. It's like way down in the 40s, I think, when
really?
the Riddler's.
But yeah, it
like,
is
double
late. It is
episode
late
first
in.
appears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, the Riddler's in the video game, so I know it must be like fairly late in. I also like the fact that of the 65 episodes, the final episode is the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
So I have all the villains to go out on, and whether they were expecting to make more, I don't know. But
well, I think they did continue some. I think it was like the New Adventures of Batman, or the New Adventures of Batman and Robin, because in one of them, Dick Grayson became Nightwing.
Nightwing. Yeah.
And I forget if Batman actually took on a different Robin at that time. Plus, that was one that started expanding into other properties. They crossed over with Superman. They went into Justice League, and ran that pretty much at the same time as well. So in Justice League, they would often just say like, "I called Batman, but he was busy." Because he had a really good TV show of his own that was still going. But yeah, there's one of those series that you could just pick any episode to drop into and really enjoy it.
I do like. There's a lot of there's individual episodes, but there's a lot of like 2-part episodes. I watched the Harvey Dent one,
The Harvey Dent one
the other day.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That's really good.
Like because they really go into it as well, and it kind of obviously he looks very comic villainy. When the faces change, but they really try and explain it and ground it and try like Clayface is another one. It's like absolutely ridiculous, but they actually kind of make you kind of believe it. You're like, oh yeah, I guess that could happen, that kind of thing. I always remember the Clayface one as well as being a really cool villain.
Yeah. Oh, and also the other episode I just remembered that I really enjoy. The I think it's called Almost Got Him.
Okay.
When it's the Batman villains all sitting around a poker table telling stories of how they almost got Batman.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's Penguin, Poison Ivy. I don't think it's Clayface, but some other big bruiser. And I think Catwoman. But they're all telling stories of how they almost got Batman, and these nice little anthologies, and and then obviously Batman always ends up winning.
I do like the fact. See, my kids are into Batman now, but they it's because there's a show. You're probably unaware of this now. There's a show about the vehicles. It's called Bat Wheels.
Really?
Where they all come to life in secret, and they're actually the ones that are solving the crimes and stuff.
Oh my god!
Yeah. It's basically like
it seems like Toy Story, but for the cars.
They're to defend the cave.
Yeah,
and they're actually friends with the villains' vehicles, but the villains' vehicles can't control themselves when the villains call them.
Oh god!
It's a really dark message of servitude there.
Yeah. Oh, but that sounds really good.
I mean, it's not bad, and the music's really good. Like
like for a kids, you know, for something for the kids, but like a good premise for.
It's quite cool. It's better than watching Blaze all the time and things like that.
But Batman is getting a new series coming out.
Yes,
soon, isn't he?
We'll have to. It's on Amazon. And it looks very similar to this.
Yeah, so I think it's Caped Crusader.
Yeah, it's fairly direct sequel, maybe.
Yeah, I believe that's a lot the same team that made Batman the animated series.
Maybe this is a new thing because there's already rumors about a direct sequel to the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah,
which I guess would make sense. I mean, as long as they put Gwen in it, as long as we have Spider-Gwen appear, I'm more than happy. So maybe this is a new thing because I've noticed there's loads of like kids versions of these shows. Obviously, we've got Bat Wheels. There's the Spider Team, and I think flipping 30 Seconds to Mars do the theme tune for it or someone, which is Miles, Peter, and Gwen are a trio. And I'm just wondering if they're trying to create a link from that up to the next level of animation and try and feed their audience back in.
Okay.
Which fair enough.
Yeah.
It all works at all levels. Because I know there's a real kiddie Transformers one as well, even more kiddie than Earthspark. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing really not to like about the Batman show.
Yeah.
I'd say I don't have a particular episode which particularly stands out to me, but they're so easy to watch even now. They're so well put together.
Yeah, even as just one episode or two episode ones, they're nice and self-contained. The villains are all interesting, but also they're like, they're comic book and they're comedy ones. They are ridiculous. But you go along with the silliness. The voice cast is amazing for, nearly everyone, but especially the late, great Kevin Conroy as Batman. I love the way he switches between Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's really good.
Has his, his lighter tone when he's Bruce, so he sounds like he's never taking anything seriously.
I like as well the animation it's quite simple in terms of its colour palette and stuff, but it's really clearly done, and also it's really distinctive from the other shows.
Yeah.
Like X-Men and Transformers and Batman, they're all very distinctive in how they look.
Yeah.
It doesn't just blend into it's not just a wall of Nickelodeon mush or
the hard-edged anime lines.
Yeah, there's definitely got its own thing to it where you can a couple of stills and you kind of know, and it looks right as well.
It was the same. I mean, that was the thing with Bruce Timm's art style, because it's the same across with Superman. Superman the animated series. Yeah. Proper art deco designs in both Gotham and Metropolis.
Yeah.
The big puffed out chests on all the male characters with square jaws, and the hourglass figures with heart shaped faces for the women. I
must admit, I did. I think it was Harvey Dent goes through a few episodes before he becomes Two-Face, and there's one where he's got poison. I know I'm colourblind, so hair colour is irrelevant for me. But I was like, is that Poison Ivy again? Oh no, they just all the women look the same.
Yeah,
all the women apart from Harley, all the women look the same.
Yeah, there's about 3 different hairstyles, and they draw them across all the women and just change the colours.
Yeah, so that's but then most of the guys.
But then it's the same. It's the same with the men.
Yeah.
That's what I think with Harvey. Like when he turns into Two-Face, we just see he's got the same haircut they give to loads of them, and then they actually get to have fun with half of it.
It's like we've released half of his face.
Yeah. But yeah, great. I love that it's on Netflix. I love getting to go back and watch it and just tune into an episode. That's my strong recommendation.
Yeah,
just pick anyone that looks good, and you can jump right into it.
It's easy to watch. It really has a kind of very loose continuity. Obviously, like once Harvey becomes Two-Face, he's always Two-Face, etc. Once the villains are introduced, they kind of lurk around. But yeah, you can literally go in anywhere. Again, I wouldn't recommend watching all 65 episodes. It's not a bingeable series.
It's not. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't need to be.
But then it wasn't designed
No.
like that. You got to remember, you used to have a week between these episodes back in the day. So. Yeah. I just want to give a shout out as well while we're on this subject very quickly to something else we kind of briefly watched, which is the new version of He-Man, Kevin Smith's
Yes,
He-Man.
Masters of the Universe, Revelation and
Revolution. It's fine. I mean, it's okay. It's a good revival. And there've been a lot of people stressing about him. I do kind of get it. You go to a show called He-Man and then He-Man's not in it for a while. Fair, I kind of get that, but then I'm not sure about all the other stuff which goes with it. But I would say it's fine. It's quite enjoyable. But also, I think there's some kind of reverse rose-tinted glasses going on here because I was super into He-Man as a kid, like super into it. Had all the action figures, all of that, much more than Transformers or X-Men, any of that. I can't remember a single thing that happened in a single He-Man episode. And I can remember what happened in most of the X-Men, Transformers, Thundercats, Mask, etc. I have literally no idea what happened in any He-Man episode. I know there was a Christmas special where he crossed over with She-Ra and they fought Hordak. That's it. So actually, this new Revolution version of He-Man is pretty much the same. It's fine, it's entertaining, and it's completely forgettable. But it's good fun. You know, it's another one of those. It's been done with love.
Yeah.
It's worth watching, but you're not going to remember it the next day.
Yeah. I've only watched Revelation and not Revolution yet. I liked it, and it definitely is, like you said, made with love. Big fan of Kevin Smith, and loved hearing him talk about it. Really like the music.
Music's good.
It's not memorable, but Ben McCreary doing epic Viking techno jams. well, like Viking techno society battles.
Yeah.
Battle theme music. It's big, it's glorious, and with what's his name? Chris Wood's good as Adam. Probably not as He-Man, but
it's all perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfectly enjoyable. It just depends if you've got the time to spend it. It's not essential, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, it's got that. It's got a good art style. It's not.
Yeah, it's quite bold. Bold and colourful.
Yeah, it does. It's evolved from the original He-Man art style, like in a way that X-Men stuck with it. And evolved the 97 style. This one is a bigger departure, but also it suits the more big and powerful action feel that
what we do need though is some kind of channel where you can watch most of these 80s shows, because they're not on. They're like He-Man's not around. Transformers. Weirdly, I find it baffling that the Transformers TV show is not readily available on streaming. Obviously, you can get the original X-Men shows on Disney Plus, and there's a host of other stuff on Disney Plus as well, like the original Droids and things like that. And obviously, Batman is on Netflix. But a lot of these shows aren't around. Like, you can't get Mask, Ulysses, a lot of these 80s shows, unless you're going to stump up for the DVD or acquire them. They're not easily available. I'm surprised Crunchyroll hasn't got on top of this. Really.
Yeah, you'd think them, or like you thought Paramount would get on Transformers.
I mean, why wouldn't you just take the rights to the Transformers show if you were making the movies? I obviously I don't know how these things work, but
but there is a market for it, and
because you can't watch you can't watch Transformers the movie at the minute.
Yeah,
like that's mad.
Yeah, not on any streaming service.
No. I mean, Eric Idle as Wreck-Gar. What more do you want? Leonard Nimoy as Galvatron. Orson Welles' last ever screen role. You can't watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've probably rambled enough, Charlie.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
It's great to see these old animated shows get revived again. And yeah, like we said about He-Man, but the same goes with everything. Revived with love. And when they're done well, people watch them, talk about them, keep watching them and talk about them, and we can get, support those writers to keep making more seasons. Do the good job well.
Okay, guys and girls. I think we'll call it a day there. As always, if you want to come and talk to us, you can send us messages on Instagram and Twitter. Come say hello, follow us. We'd love some reviews as well to keep the podcast going. It is gradually building, so any reviews, subscriptions, tell your friends, all that kind of stuff would be all great. And until next time, I have absolutely no idea what we're going to do on the next podcast. We'll think about it. And until next time, we'll see you later. Goodbye.
Bye.